forgive me for my lack of precision.
So Wes Huff apologized. If you haven't seen his full video, I highly recommend you check it out. I'll show some clips here, including the key moment from his Joe Rogan podcast that sparked this video. But stick around because I'll also share a powerful business lesson that we can all learn from Wes's response.
So it's been just under a week since my podcast with Joe Rogan dropped.
It's very unfortunate when people get caught with their pants down. And I'm not an expert in many things, but the things that I am an expert on, you could wake me up at 4 o'clock in the morning and ask me about those things. And I go, oh, yeah, no.
Yeah.
This is what it is.
Yeah. And it's been quite the week. I did want to come on here, though, and say a few things. My time with Rogan was amazing, but both myself and others have caught some things I said that weren't correct.
When I first watched the interview, I was like, Christ appeared to 500 people after he resurrected. Let's see if he calls it out.
And so, in light of that, I'm going to be making a response video to myself. I think it's the 10th article of the Mormon Church is that they believe the Bible insofar as it is translated. It's not the 10th, Wes. You lied. It's the 8th article of the Mormon Church that says that.
It's false.
Egypt is like Greece in that you have, like, you can go to the Pantheon and you see that kind of stuff, right?
Pure fiction.
The Pantheon? Are you kidding me? The Pantheon is in Rome. Do you mean the Parthenon?
We made this one up.
Well, Paul says that 400 people saw him all at once. I'm pretty sure that's 500. Paul says that Jesus appeared to the disciples, and then he appeared to 400 people all at once. You said it wrong again?
It's a made-up tale.
Now, obviously, I'm being a little bit self-deprecating. These are slips, ones that in a 3-hour plus, no topics outlined beforehand, no notes, non-linear conversation happen. And so I hope that you can give me a break for these obvious and clear missteps.
I knew it. It's always interesting to see how even the best speakers can have those oops moments. And Wes is clearly having fun calling out some of the missteps. And honestly, we can all relate to saying something off the cuff that's not just quite right. But what's really important here is that he doesn't stop there. He actually addresses a point that's been debated, and he takes time to clarify it.
There is, however, a criticism I'm seeing online that I think does require some attention and correction on my part. At around the 40-minute mark, Joe asked me a question about the Great Isaiah Scroll.
So when you say the book of Isaiah is intact, how similar is it to the book of Isaiah that's in the Bible?
So that one is fascinating. So this isn't true for all of the Dead Sea Scrolls, but when we discovered the Great Isaiah Scroll, previous to that, the earliest copy of Isaiah that we had was in the Masoretic text, which is in the Middle Ages.
Whoa.
Yeah, so it was literally 1,000 years. We literally pushed back our understanding of Isaiah 1,000 years. And the thing that really shocked scholars, like I said, this isn't true for all of the Dead Sea Scrolls, but one of the things that shocked them about Isaiah was that it was word for word identical to the Masoretic text.
Word for word?
Word for word.
Wow.
Yeah. I say that it is word for word identical to the later Masoretic text. This was admittedly a hyperbolic statement that I should have been much more careful on. My area of expertise when it comes to manuscripts is almost exclusively New Testament, although I do have some work with a handful of 1st century Greek fragments on the Dead Sea Scrolls for comparative work, and I note in my doctoral dissertation instances of parashot, division markers in the Hebrew text of the Dead Sea Scrolls. So, up front, I am not, nor do I claim to be a Dead Sea Scrolls expert, but let me tell you why I said what I said. What was going on in the back of my mind was a quote that I was recalling from Old Testament scholar Gleason Archer's A Survey of the Old Testament, where he talks about the copies of Isaiah found in Qumran Cave 1 in 1947, that they were 1,000 years earlier than the oldest dated manuscripts previously known, proving to be word for word identical with our standard Hebrew Bible, and more than 95% identical to the Masoretic text, specifically the Leningrad Codex, calling it almost letter for letter with that manuscript.
Wes dives into some fascinating details about the Great Isaiah Scroll and how it compares to other manuscripts. If you're into the technical side of textual criticism, you'll definitely want to check out his full video. For now, let's skip ahead to where he ties it all together.
At the same time, I have actually been in contact with a number of Old Testament scholars, even ones who specialize in 1Q Isaiah A itself, who have assured me that although there is disagreement across the scholarly spectrum, the statements are equally applied across both documents. However, what I should have said to Rogan is what I said to Billy Carson when he brought up his statement about Codex Sinaiticus, that Sinaiticus is nearly identical to modern Greek critical texts that we use to produce translations today. Rogan's reaction to the correction of wording should be exactly the same. It is a wow moment.
Wow.
Yeah. Was my hyperbolic statement to Rogan a dishonest attempt to pull the wool over Rogan and his audience's eyes? No. Was I participating in disingenuous and underhanded apologetic tactics to try and gain points at the expense of truth? No. Should I have been more careful in my statement on Rogan about the Great Isaiah Scroll and used much more precise language, something to the effect of nearly identical rather than word for word identical, in order to not bring unnecessary and unfortunate scrutiny upon my discussion with him? Yes, but I hope you can see why I said what I said, and forgive me for my lack of precision. Discussing the intricacies of textual criticism to a general audience is not always easy, and in the course of a 3-hour podcast, conversational style, pulled off the top of my head on this big platform, I was not nearly as accurate as I should or could have been in this instance. I am far from infallible. I'm going to make mistakes and misspeak, and I'm going to do it again. Do not hold me to a standard of perfection, because I am not going to live up to that. I will fail that standard. The only person who you should assume perfection of is Jesus, and I, Wes Huff, am probably the farthest thing from Jesus in pretty much every way you can think of.
I really appreciate Wes making a follow-up video discussing this word-for-word statement. And from what I can tell, it is basically word for word, even if it's not technically identical. Regardless, he has done something that the person he originally debated has yet to do. He apologized. And that brings us to a critical business lesson. Owning your mistakes builds trust. Have you ever gone to a place of business like a restaurant or a mechanic and you didn't get the service that you were expecting? How do you feel when someone apologizes for the mistakes that they made and then makes an effort to make it better? How do you feel when it's minimized or dismissed? You remember either being taken care of or you felt taken advantage of. The person that Wes originally debated is getting backlash from his own audience, and I think rightfully so, because they felt they're being taken advantage of. Nobody wants to be made a fool, and believing somebody's lies makes you feel that way. Likewise, if we inadvertently tell a client that something will take less time than it does, or if the service provided doesn't quite meet the standards that we or the client wanted, it's always best practice to call attention to it, apologize for it, and to make it right, and then learn from that mistake so we can do better the next time. The next time that you make a mistake, own it, make it right, and do better next time. When you own up to mistakes, you apologize sincerely, make things right, it builds your reputation. And here's why this matters for your business. Trust is priceless. Clients will forgive a lot if they feel respected and cared for. Mistakes actually become opportunities. A sincere apology can turn an unhappy client into a loyal advocate. Your name is your brand. And as Wes pointed out, he's not perfect, and none of us are. But admitting imperfection shows integrity, which is far more valuable than trying to appear flawless. Let me give you an example. Say you're a consultant and you underestimate the time needed for a project. The wrong approach is to deliver late without explanation or to pass blame. But the right approach? Well, that's to be proactive. Apologize for the delay. Explain the situation and offer a solution. Long term, this not only preserves the relationship, but it strengthens it. People respect those who take responsibility. So here's the takeaway. The next time you make a mistake, own it, make it right, and learn from it. You might feel short-term discomfort, but the long-term benefits of trust, loyalty, and a solid reputation, well, that's well worth it. You can always make more money, but you only have one name. As Proverbs 22:1 says, a good name is rather to be chosen than great riches, and loving favor rather than silver and gold. I also loved how Wes reminded us that perfection isn't the goal. Jesus is the only perfect person. What matters is doing your best, learning from setbacks, and showing integrity in how you treat others. And if you like the lessons in this video, I think you'll like this next video where I show where real consulting profits come from and how to turn one-time projects into a stream of high-value services. If that interests you, you may want to click on it and watch it now. I'll see you in the next video.